My name is Clifford, and I'm a police officer. The day had started like any other. I woke up early, ready to tackle whatever challenges the day would throw my way. My shift started at 8 a.m., and I hit the ground running from the moment I stepped into the precinct. The morning was relatively calm, with the usual flurry of activity responding to calls, patrolling the streets, and maintaining law and order in our community. But as the day wore on, things started to get busier. It seemed like every time I turned around, there was another call coming in. By midday, my partner had fallen ill, leaving me to cover the night shift as well. It wasn't ideal, but duty called, and there was no way I could refuse. So as the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself back at the precinct, gearing up for another long night on the job. It was around 3 o'clock in the morning when I got the call that would change everything. I was cruising down the interstate, headlights cutting through the darkness like twin beacons, when I noticed something odd in my rearview mirror. The car behind me was swerving erratically, its headlights dancing across my back windshield in a blinding display of light. Concerned for the driver's safety, I slowed down and pulled over to the side of the road, hoping to lend a hand. But as I stepped out of my patrol car, I was met with a sight that sent shivers down my spine. A figure darted out from the driver's side door of the other vehicle, disappearing into the surrounding forest before I could even react. My heart pounding in my chest, I approached the abandoned car cautiously, the smell of decay hitting me like a physical blow as I drew nearer. I hesitated for a moment before opening the driver's side door, steeling myself for whatever horrors lay inside. And that's when I saw a gruesome sight that would haunt my nightmares for years to come. Nestled in the trunk of the car was a severed human arm, the flesh mottled and rotting, the stench overwhelming. Without hesitation, I reached for my radio, calling in the discovery and summoning backup to the scene. As I waited for my fellow officers to arrive, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over me like a suffocating blanket. Who was the owner of that grisly appendage? And what had led them to such a gruesome fate? My mind raced with possibilities as I surveyed the scene, searching for any clues that might shed light on the mystery at hand. But aside from the arm itself, there was little to go on. No sign of struggle, no bloodstains, nothing to indicate how or why it had ended up here. When backup finally arrived, I briefed them quickly on the situation, careful to keep my tone steady despite the rising tide of anxiety threatening to overwhelm me. Together, we combed through the surrounding area, scouring every inch of the forest for any sign of the mysterious figure who had fled the scene. But try as we might, there was no trace to be found. It was as if they had vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but questions and uncertainty in their wake. As dawn broke on the horizon, casting long shadows across the deserted highway, I knew that this was far from over. The hunt for answers had only just begun, and I was determined to see it through to the bitter end, no matter where it might lead. With the first light of dawn illuminating the scene, the investigation kicked into high gear. Crime scene technicians swarmed over the abandoned car, meticulously documenting every detail and collecting evidence that might offer a clue as to the identity of the victim and the perpetrator. As the hours stretched on, I found myself drawn deeper into the heart of the mystery, my mind racing with possibilities and theories. Who was behind this heinous crime, and what was their motive? And perhaps most importantly, could they still be out there, lurking in the shadows waiting to strike again? I spent hours poring over witness statements and police reports, searching for any connection to the severed arm found in the trunk of the abandoned car. But try as I might, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something crucial, some vital piece of the puzzle that would unlock the truth behind this macabre mystery. But just as I was beginning to lose hope, a breakthrough came in the form of a grainy security camera footage from a nearby gas station. It showed a car matching the description of the one we had found on the interstate, pulling into the station late at night, its driver's face obscured by the darkness. With this new lead in hand, we scoured the area, canvassing every gas station and convenience store within a 100-mile radius in search of any additional footage that might offer a clearer picture of what had transpired that fateful night. And finally, our efforts were rewarded when we stumbled upon a gas station attendant who claimed to have seen the driver of the car in question. According to his testimony, the driver had been acting strangely, furtively glancing over his shoulder as if afraid of being followed. Armed with this new information, we redoubled our efforts, piecing together a timeline of events that led us ever closer to the truth. But with each step forward, it seemed like the mystery only deepened, leaving us no closer to unraveling its tangled web of deceit and deception. Just when it seemed like we were at a dead end, a breakthrough came in the form of a tip from an unlikely source. A local farmer reported finding a blood-stained shirt tangled in the branches of a tree on the edge of his property, prompting us to launch a search of the surrounding area. And as luck would have it, our efforts were rewarded when we stumbled upon a shallow grave hidden beneath a thicket of brambles, containing the remains of a body that had been hastily buried beneath the forest floor. The victim's identity was confirmed through dental records, revealing him to be a local businessman who had gone missing several days earlier. But what had led to his untimely demise, and who was responsible for his murder? As we delved deeper into the investigation, a picture began to emerge of a tangled web of lies and deceit, with the victim's business partners emerging as the prime suspects in his grisly murder. It seemed that greed and jealousy had driven them to commit the ultimate betrayal, snuffing out the life of a man who stood in the way of their ambitions. But despite our best efforts, justice remained elusive, with the perpetrators managing to evade capture at every turn. And as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, it seemed like the case would never be solved, leaving behind only unanswered questions and lingering doubts. But even as the trail grew cold and the leads dried up, I refused to give up hope, knowing that somewhere out there, justice was waiting to be served. And as long as I drew breath, I would stop at nothing to ensure that the guilty were brought to justice and the innocent could finally rest in peace.